Only took me about a year and a half of having my account to spend $17 on a microphone. My lighting situation is still very makeshift. I'm using my daughter's nightlight right now. And this looks kind of stupid, but you know what? All right. I just thought I would come on here and do a little somewhat live cooking demo of my meatball / meatloaf process. So I cleaned my kitchen to make dinner, and it got me wondering, am I nuts, or are there other people on the team that cannot cook in a messy kitchen? Actually, I don't really like cooking in a messy house. It just overwhelms my brain. So are you team clean the kitchen before you cook just to make another mess, or one big mess at the end? Let me know. So this is a very basic carnivore friendly recipe that I've been using for a long time now. And I have a very nice shortcut to show you. First, I'm gonna start with my mega block of Parmesan cheese, and I'm just going to cut off a good sized chunk without injuring myself. Maybe 2 good sized chunks. All right, this chunk too. And I'm gonna put it in the blender. I abuse this blender, and it's still hanging in there for the most part. So I do break it up into smaller pieces, but this is the fastest way to get fresh grated parm from the block. So here's the parm. You don't want to just like leave it blending, or else it will heat up and melt. But we get a really nice consistency. I just kind of like pulse the blender, and I don't know how much this is, maybe like half a cup or something. And then we're gonna do this, and this helps to bind the meatballs. And then I'm gonna go in with blender step number 2, and I have like half a bag of pork rinds here, and we're just gonna make pork panko the same exact way. All right, there we go, pork panko, and it smells awful but it tastes good for some reason. Okay, so look at, I don't know if this is cheaper than buying the pre-crushed pork rinds, but it seems like it should be. All right, I changed my utensil to something a little safer. And then I just have some very basic seasonings: salt, pepper, garlic, and onion. And mix that all together. I forgot I wanted to put bacon in these, so that's cooking, but I'm going to get this mixed together. I just remembered I also need to add eggs to this, so just a second. So this is 2.5 pounds of ground beef. So I'm going to do 3 eggs. This all just helps hold them together, because traditional meatballs or meatloaf use some kind of like grain to bind them, typically like oatmeal or flour or breadcrumbs. So I think this works just as good, and it tastes better. A spoon just doesn't work as good. And I do wash my hands like 100 times while I'm handling raw meat. So I like to put parchment paper down. I use this one. It sounds like it's better. Is it better? I don't know. I don't want to know. I already know too much. Now I'm going to take this bacon that's probably too hot to touch and just cut it into my burger. Yes, it's too hot. We'll do a little bit more. Okay, now we're gonna squish that. All right, and then we're just gonna roll them to be about 1 inch. And if you're doing a meatloaf, you just press it into a meatloaf pan. Same recipe. All right, dairy-free friends, I'm sorry, you can skip this part, but I'm just gonna make this cheese sauce. This is cream cheese. This is about 2 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to melt that down with a little bit of half and half. I just kind of eyeball this at this point, but I will link a recipe. So I got this bubbling, and I'm just going to add in some shredded cheese. You do want to use like a well melting cheese. You don't want to use something like mozzarella, because it'll just clump up. So this is part Monterey Jack and part Gouda. Usually I like to use like a sharp cheddar. It melts really nicely. This is what I have. And this is just going to turn into a creamy cheese sauce to drizzle over. All right, look at how creamy and yummy that looks. All right, the meatballs are done. There they are. And the littler ones, I think they took about 30 minutes. So if you have stuck around, Thank you. Please let me know if you like this content or if I am wasting my time. I'm thinking about doing this every so often. It's not always possible. Let me know if this was stupid or fun to cook dinner with me. Oh, and this is my plate. So I am having a leftover chicken thigh on the side and a few meatballs. And here is a nice, satiating, fatty meal. I'm going to have a little bit of this cheese sauce. So yummy.